And then there comes
and then
this one.
Hello.
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 Oh, wonderful to see you now.
Yes.
For us too.
Yes, we can
Yeah.
say the same. And to see you with your bubblegum sari. It's very nice. Your costume fits with the bubbles.
Yeah. We will see. Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
Or to
But you know
Berlin.
Sorry.
Say.
No, I was thinking about a very interesting coincidence that I wanted to share with Ulrike. You hear me well?
Yeah, I hear you very well.
No, I was thinking about the fact that sometimes after discussing with Vanina the idea of organizing a retrospective of your work as a main event in the festival, I discovered the film by Delphine Seyrig that I wanted to watch for such a long time, Sois belle et tais-toi. And we discussed with Vanina because I admire her very much, but I have to say that back then I didn't yet saw Flick Orlando and Johanna Dark of Mongolia. I saw it a long time ago in a VHS that was not a good copy without subtitles, so I wouldn't count it. So I didn't link it immediately with your work, Delphine Seyrig. So, and then we went and watched other of her films and discussed about her doing some warm-up of her fictions as an actress. And then we also got to Centre Simone de Beauvoir because of some of the films that she made there. And then only afterwards we realized that they are very linked somehow with you and between each other. And it's, I don't know, it's a very happy coincidence, but also it's something, I don't know, it was very intuitive in a way.
And that's why we also decided to, because of Delphine, but because of you, and because we thought it was such a pity not to select some of your fictions, because we are a documentary festival. But you know, we wanted also to have films from that you made, fictions, but also that you made in the 70s. And so we said, okay, it's going to be also an occasion to see with Johanna d'Arc of Mongolia, to see Delphine, and because we are also screening films of Delphine as an actress in the warm-up of the festival, it was really, suddenly everything was à sa place, in its place, you know, and magically, you know, and also we have films of Centre Simone de Beauvoir, obviously.
And also, I think some other coincidence related to that would be that because the cinemas were only opened 2 weeks ago, we had to postpone the warm-up. So the only possibility was to screen Johanna d'Arc after the festival. And we realized that it's a perfect ending to the festival and to everything, because it's both your film and it stars Delphine Seyrig, and also because it has this very beautiful mixture between documentary and what we call documentary and what we call fiction. So I don't know, really, with all the bad parts of these months, this really got together very, I don't know, in a very harmonious way somehow.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, Delphine Seyrig talks about what happened. She has a wonderful first, it's not a dialogue, it's a monologue. And finally, she talks about what happened when the fantasy about another culture has an encounter with reality, and all this kind between reality and fiction and fantasies, is discussed in the first sentence of it's an introduction, It's an introduction, the text of Delphine Seyrig, but at the same time, it's also an introduction in my work.
Exactly.
in my whole work.
Yeah.
And so all the dialogues have always also this meaning to talk about different cultures, the misunderstandings, and all this. And this is it's very important to me. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think but you start with my latest film, with Paris Calligram.
Yes,
Yeah?
it's the
Festival,
opening
yes.
film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is wonderful. You know, with Delphine Seyrig is part. I made when I went to Berlin. Yeah, I walked a lot around in Berlin. I like to walk in cities and to look in the streets, in the people. What is telling this city, and this is what is important in cinema. You need locations and places who are telling their own story also. And I always worked with locations and places. I had the impression that they are telling me something. And it's can be the architecture from the turn of the century. It can be a modern architecture. It can be the wonderful architecture like in Dorian Gray from Mendelssohn, one of our great architects. It can be completely different things. And then I use them like a scene, and I'm doing mise en scène in these original places. And then it becomes, in addition, a kind of also dialogue between the places and the actors, and the dialogues or the monologues or the texts were there, or the music is also telling. Music is always very important also in my films. And so I use each element you are working in the film really to like also the costumes. The costumes can become architectures, or and the color dramaturgy. So I'm working with all this. This is important to me, and it's not just that somebody is doing a costume and the other is doing a little bit of music. It really everything. I have a big collection, a big archive, and I'm using this archive really in a very extensive way. And the archive, is consists. I went to the, by example, to the ethnological museums, and I were choosing a lot of different music. Then I'm doing montage with it. So I'm working really with the whole structure of something. It doesn't mean that I don't have wonderful people working with me, but it is always a very complex coming together of things. So this is the case in all my films.
I was thinking of this when I was looking at your film, and I was thinking it's obvious that it's extremely documented, and I was thinking, do you work? I mean, do you document? Do you start documenting when you have an impulse to go in a direction of maybe a future film, or do you collect because you know, for years, and then it's something becomes obvious? you know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. You know, it's a pity when I'm my screenplays looking also very different. Yeah, in my screenplays, I'm collecting a lot of different materials from my research. Yeah, and in the beginning, it is always a big chaotic thing. It's a chaos, yeah. And then I have many ideas, and I'm thinking what comes together, yeah. And the most important elements, yeah, this can be cutouts from newspaper. This is my text ideas, drawings, photographs I have taken, photographs from cutting out, materials I collected. By example, in Mongolia, I was interested in it for a very long time. Even since my childhood, so I knew a lot about this culture. And so when I give you one example. When I went to Mongolia, I had a book who was a big book, yeah, who was, I would say, 60 centimeter long and 30 centimeter really
large.
Yeah. And then you know, I went there, and then these were nomads. So when you arrived, they invited you into their yurts, and then I showed the screenplay. After you had some tea, you were talking why you were coming and so on. And these were the first research travels I made for this film, Joan of Arc of Mongolia, 3 travels before.
Okay.
So I had this wonderful book, and of course they were amazed, and they understood immediately that I'm really interested in it. And then there are wonderful photos where we all lying, you know, over these books, yeah, and all the Mongols and even the children are coming and looking, and everybody is there and interested. And then you have immediately a very lively conversation, and you have not to ask this inquisitorial questions. Yeah, you just have fun together. Yeah. And they say, oh, this is something we have it no more today, but my grandmother had it. And this wonderful hairdress, yeah, they have this wonderful silver things and everything, but she has it still. And this is the costume we have for the big festivals, for the Spring Festival, and this is what we are wearing. Oh, this painting must be from this wonderful box, yeah. They have these painted boxes, must be from this painter. And these boots, they are so good, they look like the boots from the, so, and then I told them, you know, this is exactly what I want. I want to work with you and have the most wonderful example of your culture, yeah? And then everybody understood, and it was so easy, yeah? And everybody contributed to the film, and they bought the most beautiful things, and they said, you have to meet this and this rhapsode, this and this singer. They can really do it. They are still wonderful. And so finally, I had a lot of people around me who could do it. Then I bought for the first time, in older times, you know, they had the Lamaistic monks coming once in the year to celebrate a cham ceremony. What is a ceremony? Where people with stances and masks to prepare people on on death and on the life after their death, in Lamaism. So I talked with monks from monastery, and I knew that they still had these wonderful old masks, and they had some elderly monks who could still do these dances. So we brought them out to the grassland. So we made a big chant ceremony, and they really made it. And so I had a kind of co-regie from the abbot of this monastery, to do the chant ceremony, and I arranged the people around. And then, of course, in Mongolia, people really like to be together if something happened. So when we made this big chant ceremony, there were not only coming the people who were chosen, they were coming with their whole families and with not all of their animals, but with a lot of their animals. So it was a big festival, who were happening. And I think this is the way I like to work, that in other countries, of course, I'm also working in the studio. There it was different. When we made the Trans-Siberian in the studio. We had for 3 months a studio.
It was in which studio?
Pardon? In Berlin.
In Berlin. In Berlin,
and the studio was in Berlin, where we built the Trans-Siberian, but then the Trans-Mongolian and the other, this was of course outside, But the first part is only made in the studio. But even there, I went to the people from the railroad, and talked with them, and then what do you have, and there are this enthusiasts of the railroad, and they have all the old wagons, and I wanted to have the old wagons from the who went each week at that time, went a train from Paris to Berlin, Moscow, Irkutsk, Vladivostok, made the whole Trans-Siberian way, So we even went to at that time, the wall was still on, so the station Bahnhof Zoo was still in a way exterritorial, in parts. So I was sending people from my crew to do exchanges, with service and with the things, and we bought them cigarettes and some things they wanted to have, and they have given us something of the Trans-Siberian. It was not really legal, but it was wonderful for the film, of course. So this, all these films are always adventures, but I like when you can see it, when it goes into the film and to the not only the narration, but also with other things to the film.
I have to say that many times, even when I watch your fiction, let's say fiction films, the films with actors, I always think of how much you made it up while shooting and in editing. Because many of them have this also this collage thing. They seem to put together different kinds of not only in terms of visual, but in terms of forms of narrating, let's say. But also because they have this freshness. It's like it's most of them are in a way road movies, or I don't know, this similar to your documentaries, let's say, from that point of view. And on the way, the characters live their lives or do their things, there are always some surprises that are not, necessarily related to the main, I don't know, what seems to be the main focus of them. And it's something that I really link very much also with your documentaries, the fact that even in the films in Siberia or the films in China, Shanghai and South Korea, I always feel that somehow they are mediated. It's like when you go there, you said it was a little bit like this, but I don't know if it's the case all the time, that it's like you discover the places and the people, but you already have some knowledge. It's like maybe some iconography that you relate the places you visit with. It's always, I feel like I'm watching epiphanies that you construct, and it's not through direct cinema, because it's not direct cinema. It's always constructed in a way, either through music or either from the way you link. So you always get this feeling that it's more than what you see, but not in a, not necessarily, in a spiritual way or only in spiritual way, in many ways. Sometimes it's historical. Sometimes it's, sometimes it's something related to a passage from an author that the voiceover reads, or sometimes it's just related to the personal story of a person that only just opens it, he doesn't close it. So it's something like, for me, it's like, it's not only like an album or what you described, it's more like 1001 Nights in a way, kind of construction, if I'm thinking about the whole of your work. So this is something that really, for me, differentiates your work from the most, let's say, filmmakers who deal with reality, or who I don't know, who put the reality in, who start, let's say, or who use reality in their films. These epiphanies, let's say, this kind of construction that always implies that there is more than what you see, in many different ways. So this is why, for me, your films are not realist in a way. They are like lessons, not lessons, but they teach me how to approach reality in ways that are truer through its complexity than I am used to. It's more like a meditation, or I don't know, like reflection. It's like, in a way, it's a very curious thing, because you dealt a lot with Asian countries and Asian culture. It's more like the contemplation that I read the Chinese or the Japanese do in front of art, of nature and of art, in a way. I don't know. It's I'm sorry, I mixed a lot of subjects together, but the main would be this, that I am very, very touched and interested in this, and I have this feeling that you are somehow constructing a lot while working. But I always have this feeling or this impression that it's not a construction, let's say, in an open way, that everything has to have a reason. It's more like intuitively, and more like a diary filmmaker in a way. Sorry to be so... It reminds me somehow of one of my favorite filmmakers, Jonas Mekas, in a way, in terms of dealing with reality, but in a very different manner, of course. So this is why, for me, your new film, let's say, Paris Calligram, was not such a big surprise, or a big... how do you say? It's a surprise because the way you choose archives made by others, but not in terms of auto-referentiality, let's say. It's a new level, it's a new dimension, let's say, than what we already accessed in your perspective through life, towards life.
I think that the form of meander, what you said in the beginning, is a form who has much more to do with reality, because our reality is not just this, what we directly see. It is also also other cultures, they have their fantasies, about themselves, about their rituals, about their daily life, about their friendships, and they have also their fantasies about us, about the others, And I think all this has to do with reality, but this is a composition of reality. And therefore, I think that the meander, this is how we are thinking, in an associative way, has much more to do in a way with reality than these straightforward things. You never have this in life, then you would be a computer and would just go through. But this doesn't happen in our life. And therefore, but my fiction films, they have a lot of, I think they are somehow more realistic than a lot of so-called realistic films, because they try to bring all the different ideas you have at the moment. You have a dialogue with somebody, and at the same time you are thinking, and all this has to come together, and for me this is important that it comes together in the film. But my fiction films are really written, all the dialogues, everything, this is written. And there are exceptions when I find something, it would not be intelligent if you come across something very fascinating who fits perfectly in your concept. You would take it, of course. This happens also. But all my fiction films are very very well written and prepared, But it has, because then I know before a lot of the people, and then you can do it. But there's an interesting thing in Johanna d'Arc of Mongolia, Joan of Arc of Mongolia. Sometime when I was very young, I wanted to study archaeology, and I was also very interested in nomads in general, and especially also in Asia. So I studied especially the Mongolian thing. We have a very strong Mongolistic in Germany. So I came across all these wonderful texts and epic things. And one day I found a historically interesting thing. It was around the early 17th century. At that time, mostly of the Mongolian men, the time of the big wars had ended, and the big conquests of the Mongolian at that time had ended. So, and there was like in Europe, a kind of reformation in religion, and the same happened in the Buddhistic world or Lamaistic world, while the Mongolia is, of course, a mixture. So a lot of men were becoming monks, and were going into the monasteries, And then mostly of the women who were also alone before, because the men were always fighting in their big conquests and so. But they decided one day to make a big procession and to bring a lot of very valuable things to the monastery to do offerings. Yeah, and from this I made my own epopee from this story. This was the basic, not more. Yeah, and of course I knew how the rhythm is, and I knew, of course, only in the translation. I spoke only some words of Mongolian. Yeah, but
you mean you wrote
yeah,
yourself?
I wrote the whole epic,
Oh, no.
and then, but in the style, you know, of this, and also with these wonderful words of, you know, you cannot just say hello, you know, there are wonderful things around, and so, you know, it's very, to put a lot of flowers around everything. And then, but they have also wonderful expressions, yeah, to be calm or to be furious or to be, so all this I included. And then when I went to Mongolia, I found somebody who could translate it. And then I found these two wonderful singers, and they brought it in their rhythm that they could sing it. Yeah. And this is a long epopee, is in the middle of the film, yeah, when there is an encounter from the women with this big other group who had stolen all their animals and so on. And then, you know, when I left, they liked it so much that 10 years later, an ethnologue called me and said, I'm just coming back, and they told me about a woman who has the name, they told me, Ottinger. Yeah, and yeah, so in there, and so it was, it depended on which dialect, yeah. It was the great sky, or it was sky with the stars. Yeah, so it was a very good name for the Mongolians I had, fortunately. And so they say that they had told her that the woman with the name sky, the sky with the stars were coming, and if they knew, she knew me, she did no, she don't know, but she will call me, and so on. And she had given me a lot of presents for me. And then she told me that this epopee was coming in their repertoire. And the singers who are traveling are singing it because it means, yeah, they liked it very much, they adapted it. So this is an interesting thing, yeah. So I assumed their way to do it, and they, yeah, in the contrary, yeah, in a way accepted it, transformed it, of course, also to their style, and I think this is just wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah.
What can you achieve? What can you achieve more than this? You know, really, in a lifetime, to have your epopee that is told by the Mongolian and become their epopee. Wow.
Yeah.
So, it's best than all the prizes.
Yeah. No, this is really this was very, very good. And then the thing was very interesting in Mongolia. that normally the yurt, is their tent from Feld. It's like a cosmological model. Yeah, they take it. Everything, each direction has a meaning. Yeah, and there are parts for the men, parts for the woman, and parts where all the things for hunting and so are there, and the things to do the milk and the kumis and the whatever they are doing is another place. And the place in the north is the holy place. Yeah, there they had in older times, some still had it at the time when I was there, they had two ancestor figures. Yeah, and then they put all the photographs under the protection of the ancestor, so the photographs had a very important role, and they loved to be photographed. And I have done not only the film, but also a big exhibit in the Ethnological Museum in Zurich. And the first part, I called it self-portraits, because these were the photos of the people in front of their new wedding yurt, and or in front of their holy mountain. Yeah, a wonderful. He looked like a diamond, in the sky, wonderful. Or with the family together, or with their white camel. Yeah, white camels are very important. White animals are very important for them. And it was their mise en scène. Yeah. So I called the first part of the exhibit, of the photo exhibit, self-portraits, because it was their idea to and then when I was somewhere for 1 or 2 weeks, a lot of people arrived from far away to get photographed, because they wanted. And therefore, on my second trip, I had a big Polaroid camera, a really big one, and this was something magic for them. Yeah, they liked it because I couldn't develop the photographs there, so it just came out, and they had wonderful expressions for this wonderful machine, and so so it's interesting. And then in my documentary after Joan of Arc of Mongolia, I made the film Taiga. So I made the documentary afterwards. So you can see them holding on their horses, holding the Polaroid photograph. So towards the camera. Or when you make a pen with the camera, there is people who is going with, because they like to be in the picture, and these are things who are just wonderful, and so
and in how did you had the idea, this incredible, crazy idea of this story, of these women who are going to meet all these people through this mythologic. Or you wanted to create this encounter, and then you That's why you...
Of course, this was the idea, because in the Trans-Siberian, it's like a museum, and the figures are stylized, you know, of the Western types, different Western types, from the young girl who likes to have adventures and to travel with the knapsack, until the wonderful Lady Windermere, who is a kind of guide, and what is of course important in the film, that she's telling what's going on, and to the others, So and then you have the wonderful Irm Hermann, she has such a humor, and she's really funny, as a straight German teacher, with all the prejudices of you know, this kind of people, and you have the American Broadway star, and you have Mickey Katz. And this was a figure who really existed. It's modeled after a figure. And he was in the 20s. There were these famous music halls in New York, in Lower East Side, New York, where's more the Jewish quarters in New York. And they had these wonderful musical halls, and in summer outsides in the Catskills at New York. And there they were entertainers, and a lot of them were becoming later very famous movie stars, But Mickey Katz existed and was very much loved. I had some of his records, from the time. Elderly people were giving it to me, But I wrote also his song, this is what I wrote. And so I'm working a lot with the people. And then the three Kalinka sisters, I have chosen them one by one. They didn't know each other before. So it's a pure construction of my ideas. And each one is, of course, fantastic and completely different, But maybe you have a question for the opening film, Maybe we should talk a little bit about the opening film.
I'll ask you something very brief, maybe, about your work with Delphine Seyrig, because she seems to be somebody important in a part of your career, for many films that you made in the first part of your career. And I imagine that it was also something that had to do with her as an actress and maybe as a person, the fact that you distributed her in so diverse hypostases, let's say. Can you tell us briefly maybe something about how you she was already a well-established actress, very well-known and admired when she first starred in one of your films, but she seems also to be very dedicated to the roles that she did in your films. Some of the parts that she had there are, I think, amongst her most impressive work. And the part in Ioana Dark of Mongolia is, for me at least, maybe the one that I'm most attached to, also because it's her latest. But she's also she's at the same time very controlled as an actress, and very she seems to let herself in this film to everything that surrounds her and happens to her, and this is something very, very rare that you see this kind of part for her, for such a great actress, composition actress.
And we met on the first Women's Festival in Belgium, and where I went and she saw my first films, Laocoon and Sons, and the Enchantment of the Blue Sailors. And afterwards, we talked about, and she liked the films very much. These were my first films, and they were more, I would say, a little bit underground films, yeah, and made in a very simple way, but had already the collage character, and they liked this very much. And then she said, if you ever like to work with me, you can always approach me. And this was, of course, an unbelievable offer what for me. And I immediately were visiting her when I went back to Paris. And then it took a while until because Madame X was already, everything was set, and I started. But then the next film, I wanted already to work with her. And then it was Frigerlando, the first film. And in Frigerlando, I found it just perfect because Delphine Seyrig has this, how should I say, this American understatement, yeah, as an actress. And then I had Magdalena Montezuma, who has this expressionistic way. And this I found so interesting, yeah, to have two protagonists, yeah, to be capable to represent this unbelievable knowledge. And then we got very good friends, and I started to write the next screenplay, and I really had her in mind. And when I have written the dialogues, I really could hear how she would say it, yeah, and this was wonderful, yeah. I have done this several times also for other actors which I knew very well, like Magdalena Montezuma or like Irm Hermann or others. So, but this was wonderful to work with her. She was unbelievably precise, and she always wanted to have a lot of rehearsal, yeah. And this was unbelievable. I never had it before that somebody wanted so much rehearsal, yeah. And but she always said, I have to now it says the Akku is inner, der Akku geht gleich aus, yeah. So she's coming with, yeah. So, but I think this, everything what we have done was very precise, rehearsed, and not improvised. She didn't like this to improvise things, and so.
Hörst du sie wieder? Hörst du sie wieder?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello again.
Okay.
So.
Alles gut?
So, yeah, do you hear me? I think we also have some problems with our connection.
Uh-huh.
You hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I think it stopped when we. I think we lost the connection when you were saying, describing the way you worked with Delphine Seyrig and the fact that she was rehearsing a lot more than the other actors.
This is she really wanted always to be perfect, but often she was already perfect with the first scene, but somehow she needed it, and she wanted it, and but you know, it was such a pleasure to work with her because she was not only an exceptional actress, she had this unbelievable, wonderful voice. And my idea was always she grew up in Lebanon, in Beirut. And my idea was always that she must have listened to this wonderful fairy tale tellers, Oriental fairy tale tellers, and I adored her voice. And she was such a wonderful lady, and she was also a very good friend. And it was just a great gift to have her as an actress and as a friend. And then later, you know, I discussed also the screenplays. When I had an idea, I called her and we talked on the phone. We saw each other, of course. At that time, I was often in Paris. And we worked very closely together. And also when the screenplay was developed, at least in the second and third film. But I made also, I don't know if you show Superbia, where she is a beggar queen, with wonderful plastic things. And it was just fantastic to work with her. And she could do everything, you know. She had also she herself had a lot of humor. And I remember sometimes when I picked her up in Paris after the theater. She has also done a lot of theater, and we went to have lunch after midnight. We were sometimes sitting until 4 in the morning, and she was telling unbelievable stories, and she had a fantastic humor. She could also, she could be the elegant lady, of course, but she could have a lot of humor, and like in Fricolando, where she is playing with an unbelievable irony and wit, you know, the different roles, and she had an unbelievable sense for irony also. And it was a great pleasure to work with her. And when we made Superbia, I wanted absolutely that she should say the German texts, So we were learning the German texts, Oh, there is your little cat coming in. Hello, meow.
His name actually is Oriental. His name is Mishima, actually.
So I see. So she could hear what we are talking about. So so I really appreciated to work with her, and I cannot tell how much I miss her. I had already planned another film, but unfortunately, we would have fantastic with her, but unfortunately, Johanna Dark of Mongolia, what is the original title, was the last film she made. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were traveling still with Johanna Dark of Mongolia in Canada and in the States. And unfortunately, this was our last travel together. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was a huge success, of course. And I think we enjoyed it both. Yeah. But it was, of course, also very sad. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's a great it's a great film, as you probably know. It's an amazing, I don't know. It was recently restored because I saw it recently in a restored version, or in a very good version, better than the VHS. So I think this helps a lot.
Yeah,
to have
but
access to in that way.
yeah, but I think you have the DCP.
In the festival, yes, but I saw
Yeah.
it. I resaw it on the platform that
Yeah.
which is also a great copy.
Yeah. I I have now all my films digitalized, but if not, the retrospectives could no more take place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they are all over the world. And of course, it's important that films are seen. There are, of course, some the cinematheques or some festivals or some rare cinemas can show films, yeah, but mostly you don't want to give the copies because in normal cinemas, yeah, you can no more do it because people doesn't know how to work with film copies, yeah, and then you get them back, and yeah, so you can no more do it. But now everything is restored, and the last film I'm doing now in the next months is the Prater film about Viennese Prater. Yeah.
We also wanted that in the selection, but it was not possible. But maybe we include it when you come to Bucharest.
Yeah.
Maybe it would be a good idea to present other films, not the same ones. So
yeah.
Maybe it's digitalized till then.
So have a wonderful festival, and and greetings to all the people who is coming, and and also to Nicole. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and she will come. Yeah.
Yes, she will come. She's the only one to come because for sure, because she's vaccinated.
Yeah. Okay. This is good. Yeah. So Vanina and Andrei, yeah.
Thank
all
you.
the best for your festival. Yeah. And wonderful what you are doing with the festival. Yeah.
We really hope to meet you soon.
Yeah.
Whenever you can, and have a pleasure to come.
We will do it.
We are waiting for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.